What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV, man. I'm here to talk to y'all about episode 10, the final episode of The Chi season 3, right? Like, this episode, I really enjoyed how Lena wrote this episode, man. She wrote this episode so well, and I'm going to point out some of the things, or the theme of this episode overall. And to me, it came to an ending that was pretty satisfying for viewers, except for the part that we feared the most, right? So episode 10 opens up with us finding out that, hey, what many of us feared, what many of us believed to be true, was true. In fact, Ronnie is dead. The episode starts off with many of the characters in the show at his funeral. They're paying their respects to him. They have this big picture of him in the military, and he's dressed up in his uniform. And it really hurts to see that Ronnie is gone. Last episode, I was thinking that, hey, maybe he's gonna go through like he's gonna be like in ICU. He's gonna be in critical condition, but maybe he will make it somehow, some way. But unfortunately, Lena Waithe chose to get his character out of the game. She offed him off of the show. And it really hurt because, to me, Ronnie has started to become one of my favorite characters due to the redeeming factor in his character. He started off on the wrong foot. He killed the kid because he believed this kid killed his son. And his character spirals out of control. He becomes this drunk guy that's just wandering the streets. He used to be a guy with a lot of promise in the military, but he had a lot of turmoil and a lot of despair that he experienced in his life. And it caused his life to go downhill. And so when he goes to prison for killing Coogie, he gets out of prison, he clears his mind up, and then he has a slip up and he goes right back down. And after that, it was like, oh my God, where's Ronnie's character gonna go? But then we see him just like completely do a whole 180. And he's taking care of his grandmother. He's not drunk off he's not on any liquor or nothing, and he just has a clear mind. And he ends up finding Keisha. What a way to really redeem himself. But I felt like at that point, Lena Waithe felt like, hey, he served his purpose. His grandmother said that his destiny was to find Keisha. He was going to be the one to find Keisha. He indeed found Keisha. And then ultimately, like, the sins of his past caught up with him, with a young dude from that was still pissed off about Coogie getting killed by him, came up and shot him point blank range. And that was like, damn, man, come on, man. And let me say this too, man. The Chi, they have no problem getting characters off of this show. It's another main character that we've seen be killed in the last three, Brandon. Well, we knew Brandon had to go due to the sexual harassment claims that, when he was on the set. But then you had Reg, and now you got Ronnie gone. So it's critical characters being killed, and also Miss Ethel, Ronnie's grandmother. But I'm like, man, it's like that really was hurting. Like, man, Ronnie is gone. That was my guy. Right? But then, something interesting happens. At Ronnie's burial, Papa's father is arrested for money laundering, which confirms our suspicions about Papa's father in the first place. And I knew Papa's daddy was shiesty. I knew he was messing around with whatever that girl, Angela or something, that dude I had. He mentioned a girl or a woman in the last episode, and he got to see her again, and he needed a visit from her or something like that. I'm like, damn, Papa Daddy is out here wilding while he's a pastor, right? And when he is arrested, I'm looking at Papa's reaction, and Papa is not he's not shocked at all. He's not enraged or nothing. He sort of seems like he expects it, but he's disappointed because now he is seeing that his father is a man who preaches the word but engages in shiesty behavior. He does the complete opposite of what he tells his congregation, which starts to have Papa starting doubting God at some point in the season. And I was real that pissed me off. I was hurt. Come on, man. Papa, the one dude that's always God-fearing, but the sins of his father has caused him to try to wane away from God's word a little bit. But he was real back in later on, and in the next episode after that, he was still real back in. But Papa wasn't shocked at all. He knew his dad was living. When he saw his pops exchange that money with Camille, he knew, hell, man, my pops is out here, he taking bribes or he doing something that he ain't supposed to be doing. And it was evident. So he wasn't shocked by it at all, right? Also in this episode, we see Keisha, Kevin's sister. She's struggling with whether she should keep the baby or not, because we found out that she was pregnant in the previous episode. And with her, she's feeling confused. She seems to believe that aborting her baby, no matter who the father is, would be the wrong thing to do. And this is a challenge that a lot of young girls face. And Lena putting that in this show is so profound because we have a lot of the issues about abortion and whether it should be is acceptable or whether it should be acceptable or not, and people having different views about it and people against it and for it. And one main issue that people always talk about is in cases of rape, like Keisha. Keisha was raped and she became impregnated from this rape. And you have girls who don't want to have a baby that is forever a part of that memory. So they don't want to have a child where they will, they see that person and that baby. They're like, I don't want to have a child with a monster who violated me. But at the same time, Keisha is feeling a different feeling. As she's pregnant, she feels like maybe things are supposed to happen. Like maybe there are things that they happen for a reason. And maybe this is the reason that she needs in her life to and it really didn't need this because being kidnapped and raped and sexually abused is enough. But she probably feels like, hey, me having a baby will change my outlook and the way she carries herself, the way she looks at herself as a young lady, and maybe it will change her for the better, she thinks. And also, when a woman has a baby in her womb, she becomes attached to that child. That child is also a part of her. So she's becoming like, this is my baby, and she's loving the baby no matter what it is, who the father is, or what the child is a product of. And so she's really having mixed feelings. She's like, man, should I abort it? Should I keep it? She's really leaning towards keeping the baby. So she goes to go seek out Jada. She talks with Jada. And when Jada is talking to her, she's telling her, look, no decision is the wrong decision. This is the decision that this is a decision that she has to make for herself because this is something that happened. She was impregnated through a traumatizing situation. You know what I mean? So this is not, no decision she make will be wrong. But in the same time, she recommends her to talk to Tiff. And this is the question everybody been wanting to find out. Because we remember at the end of season 2, when Tiff had told Emmett that she was pregnant again. And we looking like, oh my God, Emmett can't pull out of a driveway, fam. He couldn't pull out of a driveway with a scooter, bro. We like, man, this man really keep on getting girls pregnant. He's shooting up the club every single time. But when season 3 started off, we see no baby. We only see Emmett Jr. And all of us was like, what the world? What the hell happened to the baby? Did they forget about it? Did the writers just forget about it and wrote it out, or just move forward like nothing happened? But Lena Waithe she really had a way to bring this all full circle. You know what I mean? 2 girls that Emmett were once dealing with, that kind of were looking at each other with a little animosity, had to find common ground and found common ground off of being pregnant and wondering what they should do. Should they abort the baby or keep it? We find out that Tiff aborted the child that she became pregnant with, Emmett's child that she became pregnant with, because they could not afford to care for another baby. It was just like they couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Things were rough as it is, and they couldn't. And she said, listen, make the decision that's best for you. And she explains that she aborted her child. Keisha then goes to the clinic with her mom, Nina. But in the clinic, she leaves out. She says she can't bring herself to do it. She says she don't know what she want to do, but she will rather be anywhere than in that room where she's about to abort her child. So we see her developing a connection with a motherly bond with her child, her seed that's growing in her belly. And a lot of young ladies experience this. So this was something dope, really, really a significant thing that Lena Waithe put in this show, right? We also see that Emmett and Tiff are preparing to be married. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. When I saw this, I thought Emmett was just, of course, we all know Emmett really was marrying her out of guilt. He felt guilty about messing with Dom. He went back home and seen his lady and his baby laying down, and he looking like, man, I do everything for them and my other kids. I gotta live right. I'm bogus out here. I messed around with my coworker. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he wasn't ready to get married because he was still questioning Dom about, did she enjoy it? Did she think about when he had sex? He still wanted to know, was she impressed or was she still enamored with him and his sexual activity with her, right? And I'm like, man, that's not the sign of a dude that really want to get married. He still is curious about, what another girl felt when they had sex, and he was still kind of wanting her to feel some type of way without feeling some type of way in front of Tiff. He didn't want her to blow up his spot, but at the same time, Emmett still wanted her to care about, them being intimate with one another, and still wanted her to feel some type of way and still be hooked off of him. So I'm like, fam ain't ready to get married. Hell no. He just out here doing something because he got a guilty conscience and he can't talk about it. He don't want to bring it up. So he gonna feel like, okay, the best thing to do to get over this is to marry her. So I'm thinking next episode he gonna figure out that's not what I want to do. I shouldn't have did this. We gonna take our time. I shouldn't have done this in the first place. We're not ready to get married. I'm thinking that. But when I'm watching this episode, I'm shocked to see that they actually are going through with getting married. You know what I mean? I thought he was going to wake up from his guilt trip and realize he was proposing to her out of guilt. But, hey, he sticks to his word, and he is actually excited about marrying Tiff, which is a sign that Emmett is maturing. He's growing up as a person, as a young man, and he's evolving. And the way that we see Emmett's character evolve over the seasons, it's great to see. Another great thing from Lena Waithe, the way she's writing these characters are evolving in certain ways. You know what I mean? They're not the perfect. Emmett's not the saint. We see the comment he made to Keisha when he found out Keisha was pregnant at Ronnie's burial. And he like, oh my God, this is the only time I can say a baby is not mine confidently, right? And she like, fam, it's not the time to make jokes. So we know he's still got certain ways about it. He's not perfect at all. But to see the type of man that he's becoming, it's like, man, that is really some dope writing for real. We see that Kevin and Gemma are back on good terms as they developing a closer bond, and they starting to get back where they were before Kevin found out that she told her friends or she told her mom about his sister Keisha being missing, right? They get close. She reveals that she tried to commit suicide, and they experience a vulnerable moment together with each other where they open up to one another. Right? And then she reveals that she told her therapist, because she saw a therapist, after wanting to, after wanting to commit suicide. This is a great topic to bring up when Lena Waithe brings up a young black girl who has everything going for her in life. She has a successful family. She comes from affluent parents. She's very smart. You know what I mean? A beautiful young lady. But she still battled wanting to commit suicide. This is a taboo subject in the black community, because for years we always thought that suicide and mental health issues was something that we were above. Like, it skips over us. That's not something that black people experience. That's not one of our problems. That's something that other folks deal with. When in fact, this is a true problem that a lot of other kids, black people, experience, and they experience it often. They experience it often, and a lot of times they don't want to seek help. They don't want to seek help. They want to act like it doesn't exist. They want to sweep it under the rug because they don't want to be looked at as crazy. But here we got this girl that's affluent, that comes from rich parents, who seems to be all put together. She's great in school, but she still is seeking therapy. And that's something that we should take note of. You know what I mean? A young black girl and is still out here seeking therapy because mental health issues are for real in the black community, even though there's a lot of people that don't want to acknowledge it. So great for Lena Waithe to put that in. But when she's talking to the therapist, she reveals that she told her therapist she wanted Kevin to be the guy she lost her virginity to. And in the midst of all of that, they both lose their virginity to one another. And this is where we see Kevin experiencing a coming of age. This is a time where we see a young man growing up and figuring out love, right? You know, like he figuring out that he, love who he loves and how to really, I guess, the process or the steps of loving a woman. Right? However, one thing I did not like what I saw from Kevin. Kevin is so pissed off that his sister is keeping his baby because he feels like this child is attached to something evil, is attached to that man who violated his sister. So he feels like, how the hell could you want to keep a child from that animal? But he doesn't realize that, the connection that a mother feels with a baby when it's in her womb is something strong that I don't think no man can ever understand. So he don't understand. He's a kid too, so he not understanding it. But Keisha, like, she wants that baby. She's thinking about keeping that baby because that baby is not just a part of that man. It's a part of her. You know what I mean? And that baby is a part of her as well. And so that is what's really the strong connection that she has with this child and keeping her in the mindset that she wants to keep the baby no matter what. But he out here snapping and he seemed pissed off and frustrated and he seemed like disgusted almost that she would even consider it. But I'm like, damn. But I had to remember, Kevin is young. But still, even when I was young, I knew ways to react to certain stuff and knew how to not react with certain things. But everybody not like that. So, hey, it is what it is. And often, this would be a normal reaction from one of the family members. Even if it's not a brother or something, somebody in the family or several people in the family will react to it to to the thought of Keisha wanting to keep the baby in the same manner. So that was great writing from Lena Waithe as well, right? This episode, we also see that Trig is awarded custody of Jake because Douda did not come to court, right? And so I'm happy for him because Trig want to develop this he's happy about having his brother with him so he can create this familial bond in his home with his girlfriend and his brother, right? And like things seem to be going well on this part. I'm happy. I'm like, man, they get a time to really to learn each other, to be with each other, and they can really, live together. And Jake can be with somebody that really, really has his best interest at heart. But we find out that Douda purposely let Trig get custody of Jake. He didn't show up on purpose. And he didn't show up on purpose. Well, this is what it is. We got to go to this. Do we find out that Douda has defeated Camille Holloway in the mayoral election? He's won. And this is because Camille chose not to use the evidence that Trig and Jake took to her campaign team because she wanted to win fair and square. She didn't want to win on nothing shiesty. She didn't want to have to low blow him to win. She wanted to win like the right way. She wanted to win and say, you know what? The people rock with me. They felt my words. They really attached to my platform. And they really respect and connect with her. She wanted that to be the reason why she won. And unfortunately, she couldn't get the W. Douda gets the win. He becomes mayor of Chicago. And with this power move in place, he knows that it's certain things that he can do. And he can really use Trig as a pawn. Use him as a street soldier, essentially, right? Douda comes to see Trig and tell him that, look, I let you get custody of him. But look, I'm gonna pay for his tuition to go to that expensive private school if you be my street soldier and take care of my business in the streets, because he knows that he got a reputation, he has a reputation in the streets, and he is known to get busy in the streets. So he like, look, you be my foot soldier, handle my street business for me, because I really can't really get my hands dirty all the way because I'm the mayor, and I will assure you that nothing happens to you and you won't go to prison. And he can assure him this because now that he is the mayor, right, his business can run even deeper than before because he has the Chicago Police Department in his back pocket, right? So he is, due to his powerful position, he can do whatever the hell he want to do without getting jammed up or booked up. And he promises Trig, you won't get booked up either. And so they shake hands and they make a deal. But fam, Trig gonna learn he made a deal with the devil. And it's not gonna be what he thought it was. It's gonna be a lot worse. And the way that Douda responds and tell him, like, what he says, a new sheriff in MNF in town or something crazy, that lets you know he out to do some foul stuff. And he out to really, and he could have Trig out here going against his whole morals in order for him to say, look, you want your brother to stay at that expensive school, right? You want them bills to get paid? Then do what I say. And I'm like, that's the worst decision that Trig could have made. But ultimately, I felt like even if Trig would have told Douda no, or told him no, that Douda was going to try to kill him anyway. So it was like a lose-lose situation for Trig. But in this scene, like, I really felt bad for Trig. Like, damn, you really got to still be this dude pawn after having this happy moment with your brother and really being excited about getting custody of your brother, right? And look, for the most, like, look, when this show ends, we see that everyone seems to be at peace within their lives for the most part, right? We see, Emmett and Tiff, they had Tiff has like a bachelorette party. Emmett he don't have no bachelorette party. He tried to go to the spa, don't work out with his pops, but they're really developing a bond with each other, and you know what? They still are growing to accept one another. And when I'm watching the episode, like everybody at the end, everyone seems to be at peace with their lives for the most part. Keisha is still trying to figure things out. We're still sad about Ronnie, but we're still left with a warm feeling. The viewers are left with a warm feeling to feel. You know what I mean? Although we had to experience the death of another stable character, we're still left with a warm feeling that everybody seems to be starting to be at peace with their life. Let me just add this too. Lena Waithe makes Chicago is a beautiful city, but you would never know it from what everybody says and all the rumors and all the BS that everybody says about Chicago. But she really shows how beautiful Chicago is with the imagery and the scenery in this show. Fantastic. And the soundtrack that she using, like Wale got somewhere rooting for everybody black. I never even heard the song. That song so dope, I instantly went to the song and went to go download the song on my phone. I had to. And it was another song that was playing when the female stripper came to the bachelorette party. I got to go rewind that and figure out what song that was because it was bumping. No lie, right? But this episode, the gist of this episode was really centered on loving people for who they are. Loving them for who they are in spite of whatever, right? We see that Papa at the end, after questioning his father for stuff that his father had been doing and really trying to question his father and see why his father was locked up, they get into it and Papa runs out on his father while they at the restaurant. But at the end of the day, he hugs his father and loves his father. You know what I mean? He knows his father is not perfect. He knows his father into some shiesty stuff that he shouldn't be doing. But he loves his father still because that's his father. And he tells Maisha, that's still my father. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And like she's thinking, he quoted the Bible, love and honor thy father or something like that, and saying that he can't really disrespect his father, even though he doesn't want him doing what he's doing and he don't like what he was doing. You know what I mean? But he still loves his father and hopes that his father will change. We see that, again, loving people or accepting people for who they are. We see where Trig, I forgot the girl's name, man, Trig's girlfriend. She tells Jake that she's transgender. She reveals this information to him and she says, how do you feel about that? And he says, I don't give a F-U-C-K. He don't care. And he says, look, you ain't no bad person or nothing. And I read up on, transgender people in school. Like, I ain't tripping. Like, it's really, you're not no bad person. You ain't no foul person, because he's used to foul people in his life that's been around him doing shicey stuff. And he really want to be around good-natured, good-hearted people. So he ain't tripping off her being a transgender. He don't care about it, and he's accepting of her for who she is. And for me, that was a significant part. Because a lot of young shorties, especially shorties like Jake. Jake, a young shorty, they got street sense. They had a brother that was in a gang. Jake was dabbling in the streets, selling drugs and trying to be a little Chicago hothead. Normally, a young dude like him will resent his brother for being in a relationship with a transgender woman. They would feel like their brother was weird. They would try to be standoffish with a transgender woman. They wouldn't want any type of interaction. There's a lot of young shorties that would be like that in Chicago, especially the ones in Jake's age frame. It's normal for them to be like not wanting to be around transgender people or, looking at homosexual people crazy, and especially in the heart of the city. You know what I mean? South side, west side. It would be expected for a lot of the young shorties in the streets to be adverse to wanting to be around people who are either homosexual or transgender. But we see him in Jake's character, even though he's a young street dude, he's not tripping. You know what I mean? Like, look, I read up on about a lot about transgender people, and I ain't mad about it. The school introduced me. He said, look, I'm not really tripping. You're a good person. You're not foul, because he's been used to shicey folks, so he really not tripping, which is something significant to put in his show. Because Lena Waithe understands how a lot of young dudes, especially young street dudes in Chicago, think. A lot of kids in this group that are cultivated in street environments and cultivated in households with street individuals. Like Jake, he was in a household with Reg, growing up and teaching them everything. They have a mindset one way, but then their mindset can be altered, or their horizons can be broad, and they can see different things and not be ignorant to certain things. Then we also see that Darnell, the relationship between Darnell and the relationship between Darnell and Emmett. Yeah, Emmett still calls him Darnell. He doesn't call him Dad, but he still seems to be much more receptive of his father's information, talking to his father, even though his father can be an old head that's over the top. He still is like, you know what? My father had a lot of flaws and faults in him, but Emmett realized he does too, and he's giving his father a chance and still loving his father for who he is, despite his shortcomings and the things that he's failed at in the past. Also, we see Jake loving his brother Trig for who he is, even though he felt abandoned by his brother. Like, man, you left me and Reg here to fend for ourselves in the hood when our mama was on drugs. You could have been there for us. But he's like, look, my brother is trying to start off a new relationship with me. He's trying to turn a new leaf. He's trying to really get to know me and give me the love and a family foundation that, you know, that a family support system that he needs. He really trying to be a big brother and make sure he is taken care of properly. He like, you know what? I'm gonna love my brother for who he is, and my brother is trying, so I'm gonna love him for who he is. And that was the gist of this episode. And then we see that Ronnie had his shortcomings, but ultimately he redeemed himself. And we see that oh my, what is Jason's mother name? Lord, geez, I forget her name right now. It's drawn a blank. Y'all gonna make me forget. Tracy ultimately started. When Ronnie turned himself around, she loved him, but she loved Ronnie. You know, so we see the theme that the episode is centered on loving people for who they are, which is a great way for Lena Waithe to end season 3 of The Chi. And I'm hoping that now I spit a little bit. Excuse me. I'm hoping that, you know, season 4 with COVID, I don't know when a season 4 will be coming, but I'm hoping that, man, the season 4 is excellent too, because this show has been absolutely phenomenal. It's been excellent. People had their doubts and their worries about the show when, you know, we found out that Reg had got killed. When Brandon was going to be killed off as well. We didn't know how the show was going to go, but it has took a great turn, man. And not a great turn. It really has been a great season. And I appreciate y'all rocking with me on all these recaps. I'm probably going to talk about some more things from the show as well coming up. But that's it for this episode. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. And tell me y'all comments in the section below, man. Appreciate it. Like this video, share, and subscribe to my channel. Machiavelli Mills TV. I'm out. Peace.